Hey everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad, Gustafson, and I share two books that we love and we think you should read when, Brad?
Right now.
Right now, folks. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. The pre-show shenanigans are still sticking with me here, so I'm riding the high, Jen. How are you?
We need a blooper reel or something like the behind the director's cut of Read This Now, right? I'm sure people would be piling up for that.
That would be great. Yes, I love it. I love it.
So what you been reading this week?
Yeah, I have a really interesting book that I wanted to share. I'm excited to see if you've had a chance to read it yet.
Great.
So I think it was published last year. I'll just cut right to the chase. And interesting, like that's a weird lead-in or a weird hook, but it really is an interesting book. It's The Rock from the Sky by Jenn Klassan. You're nodding your head, familiar with this?
Yeah.
So and honestly, after I read it, I really wanted to talk to somebody. So I'm so glad we're connecting. And I needed to know, like, what are people saying about this book? Because it was so unique.
Yeah.
And then going online, some of the words people were using in reviews, I think witty was one that came up quite frequently. I'm like, okay. So long story short, like, what am I talking about? Very, to me, it almost reminds me of the picture book version of Our Iceberg is Melting, that kind of business and change leadership thing, in a sense that, and I don't know if this is the intent or not, you read this and you can't help but derive lessons or see yourself in it. At certain times, you can relate to some of the characters, better than others. And so an example of what I'm talking about, it starts off with this ominous picture, something falling in the sky, the rock from the sky. And then, so in the very beginning, there's like this beloved turtle, I think beloved, that loves this spot. It literally loves that spot, no other spot. And other characters kind of invite the turtle to come over and try a new spot, get a new viewpoint. The turtle's loving the spot, and the characters are somehow, they must know or sense there's a rock barreling down at them from the sky, but they're like, I have a bad feeling about this. Like, you might want to move. And the turtle's like, I love this spot. Anyway, it's really almost satirical. That's a word I don't ever really say out loud. I think I've read it before, but it just reminded me of an interesting, reflective, witty. I agree with some of the reviews, to the point where I would love to talk about this with also like a group of educators, and like, where are you at today? What character are you at in this moment? Things like that. And I don't know, I like it. I think people should read it, but I don't necessarily know that you would read it to a preschool class, because they might not appreciate it at the same level that you and I appreciate it. But I could be totally wrong about that.
Well, they might appreciate it on a totally different level, but John Klassan is sort of known for writing these books where the endings have like a twist, or they go in a way that seems more written for the adults than really for the kids, even though the language is very simple and kids are able to access them and enjoy his books on another kind of level. It reminds you sometimes of those like animated movies where kids love them for reasons A, B, and C, but then adults love them for reasons X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like, there's just different levels of understanding of those books.
And this, I'm so glad we're talking about this, because now that I reflect and listen to what you're saying, you're right. So I have not read this one as a class read aloud yet. I can see younger kids laughing and thinking certain things are wild, outlandish, or maybe I could predict that kids would love the obvious nature, like that character should move, right? Whereas maybe I don't want to say ruining it, but by overanalyzing it, I'm just looking at it at a different level. But I actually I might just read this with kids just to see what they love, knowing actually I do think they would like it just differently than I like it. So
our friend, it wouldn't be an episode of Read This Now if we didn't name drop. So our friend John Shu and Travis Yonker do like a list of their favorite books of the year at the very end of the year, and that book was on it. They always do like a 1-sentence description of the book. Like, their descriptions are really, really short when they do their best of. And I'm not gonna get this exactly right, but it's pretty close. Their description of that book was like a book where next to nothing happens, and yet everything happens. Like,
gosh, that is good.
Isn't it perfect? It's like perfect. It's the perfect way to describe that book. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love it. That's really good. Thanks for sharing that. That is
Hold up
really
the cover
good.
again so people can see.
Yep. The Rock from the Sky by John
Mhm.
Klassan. The book, and crediting this to Travis and John Shuno, of course,
Yeah.
the book where nothing happens, but yet everything happens. That is true.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Thank you
Well,
for sharing that.
I got to tell you, my friend, I love that book, and I'm glad you shared it. It's funny because one of the things that's happened since we, the calendar flipped over and we did our sort of best of show at the end of December. I've been thinking about all these books I really loved from 2021, but never got a chance to share on the show. So I am excited that you shared that one because that was sort of on my list. And the one I'm going to share today, when you were talking, I honestly thought we were going to duplicate books again. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to do it again, but we didn't. Although our two books are related in the sense that they are really unique books. And I think younger kids would get the book I'm going to share on a different level than maybe some older ones did. And I'm going to show the cover. It's called Otto, and it's by John. And I haven't looked up his name, so I'm going to say Agee, but I might be wrong on that pronunciation. I need to look it up. But John Agee. And it's a graphic novel. And essentially the story is very simple. It's about this young kid who during dinner, he seems to get hypnotized by the soup. Like he gets served soup for dinner and something is hypnotic in the soup. And suddenly he finds himself with his family out on this beach and his dog Pip runs away. And when he goes to leave to go try to find Pip, he goes on this wild adventure. And it kind of reminds you of like, I don't know, like the Wizard of Oz or Where the Wild Things Are, because there's just like lots of improbable things that happens while he's searching for Pip, right? So that's sort of the basic level of the story, right? Soup that's hypnotizing, we go looking for our dog. That's an adventures ensue. But here's what makes this book really special and magical is that one thing you might notice about the word Otto is that it's a palindrome. A palindrome is a word that reads the same frontwards and backwards. It can also be a phrase. Phrases can be palindromes. And I want to read to you the description on the inside cover of this book of Otto, which, by the way, I didn't even show you. The subtitle for Otto is a palindroma. And here's the description. What is a palindroma? It's the world's first palindromic graphic novel, a thrilling story told entirely in words and phrases that read exactly the same frontwards and backwards. The entire book, there's not a single panel that isn't a palindrome. This is why
all I can say to that is prove it. I don't believe it, Jen.
I'm going to show you. This is why in Otto, trains toot, birds peep, ducks quack, or something, and then somebody says, ooh, a yo-yo, and the reaction will surely be Yahoo. Now, I'm going to show you one of my favorite sort of spreads that illustrates this. So this is when Otto is out searching for Pip, right? And you can see, I don't want to give a lot of things away, okay, but he comes across this sign for food and he's hungry. And so a truck comes along, and when the truck driver pulls up, you can see he asks, well, take me to Grubsburg. And the driver says, sir, I'm Iris. And Otto says, miss, I'm Otto. All of those are palindromes, right? But then, this is why I love this part so much. As they start going into town, we start seeing advertisements all along the way. Signs, directional signs, advertisements for businesses, license plates. Here's the license plate on the truck. Then we start getting in, there's some directional signs, there's a business, it's a plumber on the side, etc. Every last one is a palindrome. Jen,
I gotta interrupt you. I have never been so excited. I can feel my inner excitement. Like, this is like a dream book for me. This is incredible.
It is. So let me keep going. So we get into the city, okay? And then look at how the city goes. Everything in the city is a palindrome.
Unbelievable.
I know. And it just goes on. I could just do every page. Like I could show you every page, but I picked that because I just loved how in that part of the story, it's not even the dialogue or the action. It's like just even the setting is full of palindromes. So just like the rock that fell from the sky, right? You know, like this book, I feel like little kids would have a lot of fun with Otto going on his adventure looking for Pip, and they would love it on that level. But older kids and adults, like I got the biggest kick over every page, just being astounded that he figured out a way to move this story forward using only palindromes. And I just had so much fun double checking them all to make sure that they really, really worked, and they did. So this is Otto, a palindrama, and I think you should read it right now. It's amazing. Amazing.
Incredible. I'm almost speechless. I feel like without even planning it, we kind of have a theme for the show today. And through conversation, I've come to kind of look at this. I was maybe being selfish earlier. Like this isn't just for adults or older readers. I do think lots of different kids and ages could enjoy this, but both books, it's like a 1-2 punch kind of in that same theme.
I love it. I love it when that happens. So that being said, one of the other things I love about this show is that we get to share our, gosh, we're on year 4. We're starting year 4 of Read This Now. And over all those years, we have kept a resource with all of our book talks and all of our book recommendations. That's one of my favorite parts of this show, period, is just that we have this resource, which I use a lot. I don't know.
I was in it today. I look at it a lot. I was actually doing some research today too. Yeah. I
love it. I love it. Well, where can our 3.5 viewers find it?
Yeah, if you're wondering where this mystery treasure trove is, just go to bit.ly/read_this_now, and you'll see what we're talking about. Jen has it organized by year, which is handy as well.
I love it. I wish I could think of a palindrome to end the show, but I can't. So I'll just say we'll see you next week, everybody. Until then, happy reading.